Hello and welcome to a slightly different video. You see, this is more of a behind the scenes video here at GreaterThanPie. And as you can see, we've got a couple new toys that are going to be changing the way our videos look and sound and feel. You see, we finally bought that second camera body. In fact, actually I only announced that we were buying it last week anyway. But digressing a little bit, we have that new camera body, we have a lavalier mic, and let me kind of explain why. You see, last year I purchased this. This is a Canon T6i. It is a great camera, but it leaves a bit to be desired when it comes to video. Its max resolution is 1080p at 24 frames per second, meaning everything looks super cinematic, but although it doesn't have a high resolution, it actually still kind of looked a bit soft. Take this camera, which was actually the same price that I bought this one for, and we're shooting in 4K at 24 frames per second. Of course, we still have that cinematic kind of motion blurry look to it, but we're also much higher res. Now, the only reason that this camera doesn't look weird, because if you know anything about Canon cameras, when 4K is introduced, they actually punch in really tight. It's because I own a wide angle lens, and that wide angle lens actually makes this look quite normal. It doesn't make it look nearly as wide as it really is. But this camera honestly has blown me away, and I really do think we're gonna be shooting a bit in 4K, because although we've lost dual pixel autofocus, I think it's actually doing a really good job of keeping on my face. Now, of course, I'm going to find out in editing whether or not that is true. But digressing a little bit, why did we buy this and why do we need this on this channel? Well, you see, I am committed to bringing better and better content. I am not content to stay at one level. We've been steadily increasing our production value as we have gone. In fact, over this year, 2020, we've gained, like, I want to say anywhere between 15 to 20 of you guys as subscribers. And it's been incredible. And I know that part of it is due to the fact that we had that one video that everybody has been watching and everybody's been subscribing for. But I know that you guys have been kind of reaching out and going to my other content before you subscribe. And I really do appreciate all of it. Like, seriously, you guys are all awesome. Going back to quality, I haven't been too happy with a couple different things. One of them being, whenever I'm not facing the camera, my microphone used to just not pick me up. And that's because I was using what's known as a shotgun microphone. Shotgun microphones are really, really good at getting really clear audio in front of them, but they kind of suffer a little bit if the subject is not facing the camera. That is why we bought this, a wireless lavalier microphone. This is a Rode Go portable or something weird like that. We'll just put that on screen there. This microphone actually doesn't sound half bad. I did kind of throw a clip in to see how it sounded, and I think it actually sounds pretty good. It sounds comparable to the Rode Mini that I was using on my camera already. This camera though, this is really the star of the show. You see, we took this thing outside and its image stabilization is just so good. Just here's a montage of just B-roll that I shot on this camera. Alright, this is our vlogging test. Honestly, you know, uneven terrain, we're out in the sun, my hair is way too much in my face, but just to kind of like test out to see what this camera looks like in a very real world situation. We're in imperfect terrain, imperfect sound. It actually is a beautiful day out and the lighting looks really nice, and from what I can tell, it's actually very smooth. I'm not smoothing this in post. This is exactly what this camera actually looks like. And I guess that's an advantage of 60p, is because we can now keep this stuff pretty stabilized. The big difference though is this does actually increase editing time considerably. I did render out a clip just to see how it looked, and my render time was actually almost 1:1, which my old system was definitely not that intensive. So now you may have noticed something in this art scene montage. The camera was actually at 1080p. They're both at 1080p. And the reason for this is actually 1080p 60 frames per second is actually the max speed that this camera can do at that resolution. And at 4K, it can only go up to 24 frames per second. Also, we lose some of that image stabilization that we gain from the 1080p. Add the crop sensor, which makes everything look kind of like this. In fact, actually, this is better than what the other ones look like. And we kind of have a situation where the 4K really isn't good for motion shots. Anything moving, anything where the camera is free floating, that's not going to be too good using this camera and 4K. But doing something like this, a talking head piece where there's high contrast between the background and me, that's not so bad. And it doesn't seem to hunt nearly as much as the T6i. This camera does have a lot going on under the hood, and so we're gonna get a little technical. So the reason that this camera is interesting is because this is really just an M50. The M50 is Canon's mirrorless camera that came out 2 years ago, and it actually took YouTube's entry level by storm. I personally didn't know anything about cameras, and I should have bought the M50 instead of the T6i, as the M50 is arguably the better video camera. So because I bought this, I kind of bought into this ecosystem, these batteries, these chargers, these lenses. And unfortunately, if I were to buy an M50, I would have to get an adapter. Now, the adapters from third parties aren't too expensive, but from Canon itself, they are a whopping $100. And I personally don't consider that worth it. Enter the SL3, which actually came out last year at the end of the year, and it's practically just the M50 in this body. And it works, it just works with everything that works with this camera. Meaning I don't have to buy new lenses. My microphones work as expected. They would have worked on the M50 as well. Mounts and all of that stuff are all exactly the same, including the battery, which means I have 3 batteries for this camera, even though I just bought it. So essentially this was like a match for our little studio here, because it works with everything in our little studio here. But I didn't even know how good this was going to actually be. You see, its image stabilization is honestly incredible. And now, right now, we're actually in 4K, we're using the contrast focus, but let's switch to 1080p. Now we're in 1080p, and you can see like, whoa, like my hands don't have any motion blur. Even crazier though is there's this thing called dual pixel autofocus, and it allows me to like move around and do all this crazy stuff on camera, and it maintains focus. This is one of those things that actually seriously will improve the quality of our videos, and I am so excited that we're essentially going to be able to bring better videos to you. So what I need you guys to do for me, I like the 4K with the wide angle lens. I have a wide angle lens, it works pretty nice. I need to know, do you guys prefer 1080p 60 frames per second with this super fast tracking with the dual pixel autofocus, Or would you like to see the videos in 4K? Just let me know. I'm gonna put a poll up here somewhere, and yeah, I just need to know that, honestly. So, I like this a lot, and I can't wait to actually film some more stuff using this camera. So, thank you guys for just kind of watching my behind the scenes update video. Wolfie, out.